Pennsylvania.
252 career wins for Jamie Moyer, and his 600th major league start is underway. A called strike, 0-1 to the Mets leadoff man Luis Castillo. Castillo will be followed by Alex Cora and David Wright here in the top of the first inning. Ground ball to the second baseman Chase Utley, quickly one away. It's in the sprint picture profile for Jamie Moyer.
Well, nothing new about Jamie. Must be very, very fine. Very tough at home over the last 3 years. 8-8 here at Citizens Bank Park, and an excellent 14-5 record on the road. I mean, it stands to reason that he would have problems in this park. Most pitchers do.
First pitch to Alex Cora, called strike, 0-1. Cora making his 29th start at shortstop for the Mets this season, replacing the injured Jose Reyes. And Cora behind in the count, 0-2.
Hey, Kenny, when you think about it, the Mets could not play in a park more opposite than the park in which they play in New York, Citi Field.
Look at Moyer's numbers home and away this season. Mets last in the major leagues, Tim, in home runs. They have hit only 50. Manny Ramirez on deck in San Diego. Let's head there. So Manny Ramirez goes deep in the first inning in San Diego in his second game back following his 50-game suspension. Manny 0 for 3 with a walk last night. It's his 7th home run of the season here in Philadelphia. The first two Mets in the order, Castillo and Cora, both grounded out to the second baseman Chase Utley. Full count with David Wright at the plate. And Wright sends it into right center, and the catch is made by Jason Worth. A 1-2-3 first inning for Jamie Moyer, and Manny Ramirez goes deep in San Diego. first place in the National League East with a record of 40-37. Their batting order brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Jimmy Rollins leads off, followed by Shane Victorino. Chase Utley hits third. Ryan Howard at the cleanup spot. Then Jason Worth, Greg Dobbs, Pedro Police hits seventh. The catcher Paul Bacco eighth, and the pitcher Jamie Moyer. Phillies facing 26-year-old right-hander Fernando Nieve, making his fifth start this season for the New York Mets.
His first start on June 13th at Yankee Stadium, and did he come up big in that game?
Nieve won his first three starts as a Met. Suffered the loss on Monday in Milwaukee, lasted only 3 1/3. Facing Jimmy Rollins, who's back on track over the last couple of days after breaking an 0 for 28 slump. Rollins with 4 hits to him in his last 8 at bats.
Yeah, I guess getting a couple of hits 2 days in a row is back on track. The Phillies certainly hope that is the case. Jimmy Rollins with a .255 on base percentage this year. Now think about that. That's getting on base as a leadoff hitter once out of every 4 times up.
Nearly 100 percentage points lower than his career high .349 mark last season. The first baseman Tatis will take it to the bag himself, so Rollins is retired. Here's Fernando Nieve's pitcher profile, brought to you by Sprint.
Kenny, you said he won his first 3 starts. His last start, however, against Milwaukee was not a good start. He gave up a ton of runs in 3 1/3 innings, and the Mets starters, similar to Jerry Manuel's mantra, to survive and hold on until they get some of their starters back, one of whom is Oliver Perez, who is in the ballpark today.
And is scheduled to pitch for the Mets on Wednesday against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
And Manny Ramirez in New York.
Shane Victorino, 3 hits in last night's game. A 7-2 Phillies victory.
I know that Manny Ramirez is returning in Southern California, even though it's San Diego, but it's almost as though Manny Ramirez is being treated as though he were on the disabled list for 50 days or 50 games.
Fans welcomed him back last week during some of his rehabilitation stints in the minor leagues.
At Albuquerque. I mean, you have to, maybe this is a rhetorical question, but why all the adulation when for a guy who has served a 50-game suspension, when guys like Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, Rafael Palmeiro, A-Rod served no suspensions, and yet they're branded? I mean, is that a reasonable question to ask?
I agree. You think back to the reaction from the fans in Los Angeles whenever Barry Bonds would visit with the Giants.
Sure. Booed in San Diego, booed everywhere. Now, you know, maybe that will follow with Manny when he comes to New York for games on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. Certainly that would be the case if the Dodgers were to play in Boston. In fact, we're not going to show the Dodgers playing in Boston today, but here, because of Manny Ramirez, the Dodgers and San Diego Padres today are going into the Boston market. Think Manny has something to do with that?
Nah. And in case you missed it moments ago, Manny Ramirez did go deep in his first at bat today in San Diego.
Yeah, I mean, we jumped right on the wagon too. We're showing every bat of Manny Ramirez today. So there you go.
The payoff pitch, and a base hit into center field off the bat of Shane Victorino.
I was out here for extra hitting that the Phillies had yesterday about 3:30, and Shane Victorino tried to do exactly this. Hit the ball up the middle and hit the ball to left field. It's approaches like that get guys who are mired in slumps. Not that Victorino is. He's having a pretty good year. But if you can keep that in mind and try to go up the middle and the other way, that's the way to get out of whatever funk you're in.
So the Phillies with 1 on, 1 out here in the bottom of the first inning.
See shortstop Alex Cora over toward the bag. You see that open mouth, closed mouth thing all the time between the shortstop and the second baseman. And that means on a ball back to the mound, who's covering? Now, obviously, on a ball back to Nieve, Alex Cora has to cover because the second baseman has swung around so far to the right. I've got it.
Ball 2 to Chase Utley, 2-0. Chase Utley in his career 11 for 21 on the 4th of July. The best batting average on this date among all current major league players. It's pretty good all other days as well.
That's great. 11 for 21 on Independence Day.
And a big night on July 3rd for the top of the Phillies order. 7 for 14. 4 runs, 4 driven in for Rollins, Victorino, and Utley. Victorino with 13 steals takes his lead off first.
Chase not a guy who loves to swing at a 3-0 pitch.
Takes a called strike. Now 3-1. You saw Ryan Howard looming on deck. Phillies scored 3 in the first inning last night against Livan Hernandez. Utley takes ball 4. Phillies have 2 on with 1 out, and Ryan Howard stepping to the plate. With the All-Star game coming up in 10 days on Fox, you think back to a year ago when Ryan Howard led the National League in home runs and runs batted in at the All-Star break, yet was not at Yankee Stadium.
Right.
Mets employ the shift. Howard takes ball 1.
Well, the All-Star game in Ryan Howard's hometown a week from Tuesday night. I asked Ryan yesterday, I said, how many requests for tickets have you received? About 1,000? He said, none. He said, because I let them know immediately I'm leaving tickets for my family, and that's it.
And for those friends of Ryan who will not have tickets left for them, they can catch the game on Fox, starting with the Pepsi All-Star pregame show at 8. Victorino takes his lead off second. Utley over at first. And Howard throws this one into right field, and it drops in for a base hit. Victorino holding at third. Phillies have loaded the bases here at the bottom of the first inning.
I'm surprised Victorino didn't get a better jump off of second base. The reason for that, he knows the outfielder, particularly the right fielder, is playing deeply. The one thing you do is you check the outfielders, and you know, a delay like that, I mean, you know the guy's playing deep. You get a good read on it, and the guy with Victorino's speed should score easily on that ball.
So the bases are loaded for Jason Worth. Nieve running into trouble here in the first inning. Last night of the third inning, Worth takes Hernandez out of the ballpark. His 16th home run of the season. And Worth pops this one up. Right field, Sheffield is under it. Victorino tags. Moving to third is Utley. Phillies lead 1-0. Sacrifice fly. 45th one batted in of the season for Jason Worth.
Victorino scoring easily, tagging up here. Remember Gary Sheffield, who once had a pretty good throwing arm, is nonetheless 40 years old, electing to go to third. So Victorino scores Utley to third, and the Mets, I beg your pardon, the Phillies, like they did last night, strike first.
So now first and third with 2 outs for Greg Dobbs. Left-handed hitter, drove in 2 runs last night. In case you're wondering why the players on both squads as well as the umpires are wearing red caps today, all Major League Baseball clubs are wearing special stars and stripes caps both today and tomorrow. The umpires as well. Caps have the American flag etched into the team's logo. Caps are available at MLB.com, and Major League Baseball Properties will donate all of the proceeds it receives from the sale of the caps to Welcome Back Veterans, which was created by Mets chairman Fred Wilpon, who was inspired after the Mets took visits the last couple of years to Walter Reed Hospital in the Washington, D.C. area. So all Major League teams and umpires wearing the red caps both today and tomorrow.
I couldn't help but think during the national anthem today, the flag covered the outfield, the entire outfield. And this is the city in which Betsy Ross sewed the first flag, and to compare the sizes of the flag is interesting.
I don't think the flag we saw today in the outfield is what Betsy had in mind.
No, don't.
Dobbs down on strikes. There it is. The Phillies strike first on Independence Day. Presented by Pepsi is sponsored by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. By Sprint, the Now Network. And by Avodart. Beautiful day here in Philadelphia. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver. Phillies leading the Mets 1-0. As we move to the second inning, Jamie Moyer retired the Mets in order in the first. Gary Sheffield takes a called strike. This at bat, Tim, features Sheffield, who has played in more ballparks, 51, than anybody in Major League history, against Jamie Moyer, who has pitched in more ballparks, 48, than anybody else in the history of Major League Baseball.
That's 99 between them.
You got it. And Sheffield grounds out to Jimmy Rollins. We told you Oliver Perez is scheduled to return on Wednesday. Mets also without Carlos Delgado. Their starting shortstop, Jose Reyes. Their 8th inning setup man, J.J. Putz. Starting pitcher, John Maine. Starting center fielder, Carlos Beltran. 9 Mets on the disabled list. And you talked about the words Jerry Manuel used when we chatted with the Mets manager prior to the game as Fernando Tatis takes a called strike. Mets just trying to tread water.
Hold on, tread water, survive. And you rarely hear a manager talk like that unless it's September when time's running out.
Jose Reyes is in Florida. Has not yet tried to run full tilt. Carlos Beltran out at least through the All-Star break. Mets do not expect Carlos Delgado back until at least August. On one hop, nice play by Phillies. And he throws across to retire Fernando Tatis. J.J. Putz out until sometime in August or September. Mets also might get Billy Wagner back around that time.
Yeah, that's an interesting. In fact, you asked Jerry Manuel in the Mets dugout before the game today if Wagner would be back. He said maybe, and that's a maybe that I haven't heard from the Mets camp.
Brian Church with 2 away. John Maine, who has had success the last couple of years in the Mets rotation, expected to head to Florida next week to hopefully resume throwing.
Jerry Manuel also talking about the list of injured players for the Mets and saying, you know, I can't worry about that. I've got to worry about the guys who are healthy on a day-to-day basis and try to win ball games. If they come back, when they come back, it's up to the doctors and them.
On the ground for the first baseman, Howard, who takes it to the bag. Another 1-2-3 inning for Jamie Moyer, a 7-pitch second. Baseball presented by Pepsi is sponsored by Bud Light Lime. The drinkability of Bud Light with the refreshing taste of lime. A look at the USS New Jersey on this 4th of July in Philadelphia, with the Phillies leading the Mets 1-0. Bottom of the 2nd inning, Pedro Feliz leads off against Fernando Nieve. Feliz batting .289 this season. He's driven in 40 runs. And he takes ball one. Bottom of the order, Phillies, Bacco, and Moyer for the Phillies against Gehrig. Center field. It drops in front of Ryan Church. A leadoff single for Pedro Feliz.
There are some guys who are low ball hitters, some guys are high ball hitters, but there often are guys who are inside hitters, and that's what Pedro Feliz is. First pitch was away. You can see Santos setting up outside. This ball tails back over the middle of the plate, and Feliz gets his first hit of the afternoon.
So leadoff single for Feliz as catcher Paul Bacco steps to the plate. Started last night's game as well. Bacco, 37 years of age. He's been around playing for his 11th major league team.
We asked Charlie Manuel today, gosh, when was the last time Bacco started 2 games? He said, I think it was against us. And the second one last year was Cincinnati. He won a game. And Charlie with a long memory.
1-1. Bacco signed to a minor league contract by the Phillies back in May. 3 for 12 in 6 games with the big club this season, as Feliz takes a short lead off first.
We talked about the All-Star game last inning. You talk about a guy who is excited to be going to St. Louis. That's Charlie Manuel, obviously the manager of the National League All-Stars this year. And when he played in Japan, even the great years that he had over there, playing in Japan 6 years, 1 year hit 48 home runs, he never played in an All-Star game.
Castillo able to turn 2 as he tags out Feliz. And then the throw to first to retire Bacco.
Good play by Castillo. You're going to make the tag. A lot of people say to stop and getting a run down, but with nobody on at third base, that's not the proper play. The best way is to go into the second baseman and try to make him drop the ball. That's perfectly legal, but Feliz decided to hold up, try to get in a run down. Double play by the Mets.
So the base is empty with 2 outs. Jamie Moyer 1 for 19 this season. Takes the fastball from the Gehrig for a strike. 0-1. Charlie Manuel will have Tony La Russa and Joe Torre with him in the National League dugout as part of his all-star staff.
Remembers Tony La Russa from the minor leagues and talked to Joe Torre yesterday. Joe, of course, the manager of the Dodgers, and saw the return of Manny Ramirez last night. And I've got to believe that conversation had something to do with Manny Ramirez last night, since Charlie Manuel thinks of him as a son.
Spent many years coaching Ramirez in the Indians organization as Moyer strikes out. 1-0 Phils after 2. Saturday Baseball presented by Pepsi. Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. Get every Major League Baseball game in HD this season with DirecTV. Top of the third inning. Nick Evans takes a called strike. Jamie Moyer has retired the Mets in order in both the first and the second. Needed only 7 pitches to get through the second inning. Evans, Santos, and Nieve for the Mets here in the third against the 46-year-old left-hander who has faced the Mets, Tim, over the last 3 seasons more than any other starting pitcher in baseball. This is Moyer's 14th start since 2007 against the Mets.
Yeah, and well, that last pitch that he made, an example of how Moyer keeps the right-handed hitters from going out over the plate. He'll throw that cutter inside. Again, like that. That was a close pitch. But if you're a right-hander, you've got to think right field against Moyer. But Jamie does enough of this to keep you from diving out there.
Second base, Chase Utley. 1 out. Again, the All-Star game coming up on Fox a week from Tuesday, July 14th. Pepsi All-Star pregame show will get underway at 8 p.m. The leading vote getters as of June 30th. Starting lineups and reserves will be announced tomorrow.
Albert Pujols, the leading vote getter. No surprise there. How about that? Another grand slam last night. His 4th of the year. He's been up 8 times this year with the bases loaded. He's 6 for 7 with 1 walk and 20 RBIs.
Wow.
4 grand slams. That's 10 for his career. And what a career.
Now 3-0. Moyer falling behind to the number 8 hitter, Mets catcher Omir Santos. The 3-1 from Moyer, bounce foul, back behind third. The count is now full. A look at the numbers during the month of June for Albert Pujols. He hit more home runs in June than any Met has hit for the season. Santos draws a 1-out walk. Mets have their first base runner of the afternoon.
Pujols 1 for 3 today, and everybody will be keeping an eye on Albert and seeing whether he goes up and down as far as batting average is concerned. He leads the National League in home runs, RBIs, and should he win the Triple Crown, it has not been done in the National League since 1937 when a Cardinal did it, Joe Medwig.
Nieve looking to move Santos over, bunts foul.
And I would not be shy about saying, Kenny, that no Triple Crown winner, if he does do that remarkable feat, will ever be as naked in a lineup as Pujols has been. Very little support. He'll have a lot of support, however, a week from Tuesday night in St. Louis.
And we talked about that earlier today prior to the game as Santos just gets back in and looking at the last 4 or 5 Triple Crown winners and all of the support they had around them.
Yeah. Utley over there coming behind Santos. I think he made the tag behind him. How about that tag? Santos appeared to have the hand in there, however.
Nieve down on strikes. First strikeout today for Moyer.
Carl Yastrzemski, the last Triple Crown winner. He had Rico Petrocelli, Reggie Smith, George Scott hitting around him. Frank Robinson in 1966 had Boog Powell, Brooks Robinson, Mickey Mantle, of course, in 56 had a bevy of Yankees, including Yogi, hitting around him. Ted Williams, 42, 47. Bobby Doerr. Vern Stevens, I think, hitting behind him in 1947. But with Albert, Ryan Ludwig had a good year last year, but not having a good year this year. And everybody, obviously, when a guy is that hot and that gifted, says, why don't you pitch to him? Well, with the bases loaded, you almost have to.
Luis Castillo grounded out to the second baseman Utley, his first time up. Ted Williams, a guy that Charlie Manuel has studied and spent time talking hitting with.
Oh, yeah.
Many years ago.
Yep.
And we were talking to Charlie, and you brought up Stan Musial, and Charlie was so excited to talk about the books he read and the articles and what he remembered about learning from Stan Musial as a hitter. 1-2 now on Luis Castillo.
Charlie, of course, talking about the possibility of meeting Musial in St. Louis if Stan makes an appearance. Stan, 89 years old, 7-time batting champion, and one of the most amazing statistics in a sport about statistics. 3,630 hits, 1,815 on the road, 1,815 at home. Talk about the perfect nickname. They called Lou Gehrig the Iron Horse. That guy in your picture there, Stan the Man, and what a man.
24-time All-Star.
Staggering.
You mentioned Lou Gehrig, and Chris Rose alluded to it on our pregame show. Today is the 70th anniversary of Lou Gehrig Appreciation Day at Yankee Stadium, when Lou made his famous speech, which is reenacted at Major League ballparks across America today. And you see the specially marked first base, Lou Gehrig's number 4, and the ALS Foundation, ALS better known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Payoff pitch to Castillo. Bounce to the shortstop, Rollins. And the Mets are retired in the third. On Independence Day here in Philadelphia, the Liberty Bell. Not Tim McCarver. Phillies lead the Mets 1-0. Bottom of the third inning. Jimmy Rollins leading off for the Phillies. Rounded out to the first baseman Tatis. His first time up. The 2-0 from Gehrig. Now 3-0 with Shane Victorino waiting on deck. Rollins draws a 4-pitch walk, and we take you back 70 years. July 4th, 1939. Lou Gehrig Appreciation Day, sent to the microphone by manager Joe McCarthy.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
And Tim, apparently Lou Gehrig was shy. He was reluctant to speak to the crowd that day. He told manager Joe McCarthy, quote, "I'd give anything to get out of this." However, over the last 70 years, how many times has that speech been referenced? Has the audio been listened to?
Seems somehow more appropriate today, doesn't it?
And with Shane Victorino at the plate, congratulations to Shane. Presented today with the Lou Gehrig Memorial Award, sponsored by the Phi Delta Theta International Fraternity, headquartered in Oxford, Ohio. Presented annually to the Major League Baseball player who best exemplifies the giving character of Lou Gehrig, who is a member of the fraternity's Columbia University chapter. It was first presented in 1955. So Shane Victorino, the 2009 recipient.
And once that streak that everybody thought would never be broken was broken by Cal Ripken Jr. Cal played games after that, but once that streak was over, 2,130 games in a row, Lou Gehrig never played another game.
Base hit into center field off the bat of Victorino. Cora, the shortstop, made a diving attempt. Victorino has his second hit today.
That was a good play by Ryan Church, the center fielder, because often charging the ball will stop the runner. Jimmy Rollins thinking at first that he might have to break up a double play, but a late turn at second base. But credit Church with a hard charge to keep Rollins at second base.
So the Phillies threatening here in the third, first and second with nobody out for Chase Utley, who walked back in the first inning. Nothing in one on Utley. You see the patch in honor of Lou Gehrig and the ALS Foundation, worn by all of the players around Major League Baseball today, as Utley shoots it into left field. Nick Evans under it for the first out of the inning. Every home team hosting a game today selected one player to read Lou Gehrig's speech from 70 years ago, and here in Philadelphia it was Chris Coast of the Phillies.
For the past 2 weeks, you have been reading about the bad break I got. Yet today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of this earth. I have been in ballparks for 17 years and have never received anything but kindness and encouragement from you fans. Just look at these grand men. Which of you wouldn't consider it the highlight of his career just to associate with them for even one day? Sure, I'm lucky. When you have a father and a mother who work all their lives so you can have an education and build your body, it's a blessing. When you have a wife who has been a tower of strength and shown more courage than you dreamed existed, that's the finest I know. So I close in saying that I may have had a tough break, but I have an awful lot to live for. Thank you.
Chris Coast to the Phillies dugout read Lou Gehrig's speech prior to today's game.
That was 70 years ago. This was 7 seconds ago. Tatis to shortstop, and the throw by Cora with the pitcher covering. He actually had his foot on the bag, couldn't feel the bag, and turned to his right and tried to tag Howard. And Ryan was already on first base.
So first and third with 2 outs, and Jason Worth at the plate. Worth drove in the game's only run with a sacrifice fly back in the first inning. There's Rollins and Howard. Runners on the corners for the Phillies. Lou Gehrig, Tim, played in his final game, the last game of his streak, and his last major league game on May 2nd, 1939, a little over 2 months prior to his speech. He was 35 years of age. Passed away 2 years later at the age of 37.
So little was known about that horrible disease, ALS, in those days, and very little more is known about it today.
Foul back, 2-2. That is one of under 10 hats in existence worn by Lou Gehrig during his career. His name is chain stitched on the inside, and that hat, Tim, is in the ballpark today.
I didn't realize his head was that small. 7 1/8, not a big hit. And I guess after hearing that speech, that's the one thing you take away from it. Not a big head.
Not a big head. Well, that hat was game worn in the 1920s and or the 30s, and it is among the items that will be auctioned at the Hunt MLB All-Star Auctions on Tuesday, July 14th in St. Louis. Payoff pitch, and Worth fouls it off to the right side. He also had a chance to check out a letter that will be auctioned off as well, written on July 3rd, 1939 by Lou Gehrig to Postmaster General James Farley, and it references the illness. Gehrig wrote, "I am going to give the germ a real fight. I feel it has only a 3-2 count against me." And that letter will be auctioned off as well among the 800 items. Fans can bid online at huntauctions.com. And the auction will continue in St. Louis. Day of the All-Star game on Tuesday, July 14th. The hat and the letter are here in the ballpark today. Pitch from the Nieve is high, ball 4, so Worth draws a 2-out walk. And the Phillies have once again loaded the bases.
One of the Phillies coaches is Mike. His name is Pete McCannon. And Kenny, I've known him for 25 years, and he is one of the funniest people I have ever met. It's one of the reasons Pete is Mike, his words to Jason Worth after this pitch.
Greg Dobbs with the bases loaded. First pitch, left field. Nick Evans. We'll have to wait to hear from Pete as the Nieve gets out of the bases loaded situation in the third. Valspar paint. Valspar, the beauty, goes on by Zantac. Hartburn, attack it. Zantac. And by Chevy. 1-0 Phillies as we move to the fourth. A look at the statue of William Penn, an early champion of democracy and religious freedom. Under his direction, the city of Philadelphia was planned and developed.
And for the longest time, no building could be built taller than William Penn's hat. And I believe the year was 1983 when that was no longer in effect.
Alex Cora with the Mets' first hit today as he leads off the top of the fourth inning with a single to center field off Jamie Moyer. There is Oliver Perez in the Mets dugout. Barry Manuel told Tim and I earlier today that Perez will return to the Mets rotation Wednesday. He will start a game against the Dodgers. He threw 92 pitches last night for AAA Buffalo. So Oliver Perez will replace Tim Redding in the Mets rotation on Wednesday. Here's David Wright. Utley, the first, double play.
That's a tough play for Alex Cora.
Joey's brother.
Joey's brother is the bench coach for the White Sox. But Alex Cora, you're thinking about breaking up the double play. You're thinking about possibly going to third. Low line drive doubled off by Utley. And you could see Utley saying, I've got to put a little more juice on this throw. And he did to get Cora. Just got him at first.
So with two away, here's Gary Sheffield as the Phillies employ a shift. Three infielders, Tim, on the left side of the infield.
I was probably thinking of Joey Cora because Ozzie Guillen and Chicago White Sox have won 7 in a row now.
You had a chance to watch the White Sox last weekend against the Cubs.
Yep. But I see where the White Sox lost today to Kansas City, 6-4. So that broke their 7-game losing streak, or winning streak.
Ten of 13 first pitch strikes for Jamie Moyer today. 1-2 now on Sheffield.
Only one fly ball out. The other ball in the air was that line drive double play. So Jamie Moyer getting the Mets to hit the ball on the ground. Only two base runners for New York and one hit.
Driven foul. The fly out and the line out both off the bat of the same Met, David Wright. One and two on Sheffield, 2 outs. Top of the fourth inning in Philadelphia. And just to wrap up our discussion of Lou Gehrig and his speech 70 years ago today, it has been referred to by Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig as one of the defining moments in baseball history. We heard from Yankee bullpen catcher Joe DeGangi on our pregame show. He was in the bullpen that day, and two players who played in the doubleheader between the Yankees and Washington are still alive. 96-year-old Tommy Henrich, a Yankee outfielder, as Sheffield flies out to Victorino in center, and 92-year-old Buddy Lewis, who was a third baseman for the Senators. Gehrig 70 years ago today. What happened at Independence Hall 233 years ago today? So Manny Ramirez 1 for 2 in today's game against the Padres as we welcome you back to Philadelphia. Kenny Albert with Tim McCarver. Paul Bacco at the plate following a leadoff single off the bat of Pedro Feliz. Phillies loaded the bases in the first, again in the third, but they managed to score only 1 run against Fernando Nieve. Nieve missing away. 2-0 to Bacco, who grounded into a double play his first time up.
Vitriolic display by Manny Ramirez on that close play at first base. That wouldn't have been a good thing had he been ejected in his second game back.
Well, we heard from Ken Rosenthal on the pregame show, who said Joe Torre said Manny is not ready to play 9 innings. So we know he will have somewhat of an early exit today. But
by hook or
hopefully for the Dodgers' sake, not this early. The 3-0 to Bacco, and he draws a 4-pitch walk. So for the second straight inning, the Phillies with 2 on and nobody out.
Moyer with a couple of sacks on the year, 2 sacrifices. It's interesting that David Wright, the third baseman, is not joining that little confab on the mound, because it's Wright who is the captain of the infield, and he's the guy that Moyer's going to try to bunt it to. So with just 2 guys out there, you know there's not going to be a wheel play on. They're going to play it straight up so you can bunt it to the third baseman, because if a wheel play was on, Wright would have been in there and everybody would have decided on that. So the bunt is to third base.
Pitch high and away, ball 1. It was the shortstop Cora along with the catcher Santos who went out to the mound to chat with Nieve. Jimmy Rollins on deck. Feliz and Bacco, the base runners, as Moyer lays down the bunt. It's the pitcher Nieve, fires to first with the second baseman Castillo covering. A successful sacrifice, moving the runners over. Phillies now have second and third with 1 out.
Standing ovation for Jamie Moyer. These Philly fans love their Phillies, obviously off a World Series win last year, averaging more than any other franchise in the National League, 43,800. But what a beautifully laid out ballpark. I love this ballpark, and so do hitters like Jimmy Rollins. He should, but having an off year thus far.
Nieve missing inside with the fastball. Last night, Tim, the 29th sellout of the season in 36 home dates.
Standing room only, and most of those standing are standing in Ashburn Alley in center field above the bullpens.
Rollins with a base hit down the right field line. Feliz scores. Here comes Bacco. Sheffield had some trouble in the corner. Rollins in with a stand-up double. He drives in 2. The Phillies now lead 3-0.
Looked like a high fastball. Nieve missing to Rollins. And Rollins has missed a lot on pitches like that this year. Both runners scoring easily. And the Phillies expand their lead.
Rollins 2 doubles last night. And today he drives in his 30 and 31st run of the season. Shane Victorino with 2 hits today. Scored a run back in the first inning. Victorino 4th in the league in runs scored, 6th in base hits. Already 5 hits in the series. 3 for 5 last night, 2 for 2 so far today. Rollins the runner on second with 1 out. The 1-2, and Victorino sends it into right center. Calling for it is the center fielder Church for the second out of the inning. So with 2 away, here's Chase Utley. Utley has played in the last 3 All-Star games. Utley today 0 for 1 with a walk. First pitch fouled off to the left side. 0-1. Utley leading the balloting among National League second baseman. Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins second. Raul Ibanez on the disabled list, the leading vote getter among National League outfielders.
Probably will not be back to start the All-Star game. Perhaps, but probably not. Pulled groin. There's Raul. What a signing he was.
22 home runs. 59 runs batted in. And he's missed the last 2 weeks.
You know, the interesting thing about the Phillies signing of Raul Ibanez, normally if you're a world champion, maybe you say, hey, we'll rest on our laurels. You know, we don't really need that much. They went out and signed Ibanez early, which meant they paid the fewest dollars, and they got a terrific player. Terrific in the clubhouse from top to bottom. This guy is as good as they come, and the Phillies made their decision immediately and signed him early. And normally you don't see World Series winners do that, because you figure, oh, if you win the World Series, what do you need? And they realized they needed a left fielder, and they signed Raul.
Utley left field. Evans moving to his right, and that will do it for the Phillies in the 4th, but not before they score 2 runs and now lead the Mets 3-0. The All-Star festivities on Fox, beginning with batting practice on foxsports.com at 4:30 Eastern as Fernando Tatis squares to bunt, takes the called strike, and then the Pepsi All-Star pregame show at 8. You'll see the player introductions, a ceremony honoring the People All-Stars. President Obama will throw out the first pitch, and then it will be Charlie Manuel's National League All-Stars against Joe Madden's American League squad on Fox. Joe and Tim will have the call from St. Louis. Busch Stadium, city of St. Louis. Tim hosting its first All-Star game since 1966.
Thought that was appropriate to highlight President Obama throwing out the first pitch. He will be the 4th president to throw out the first pitch of the All-Star game. The first back in 1962 when John F. Kennedy threw out the first pitch in Washington.
President Obama, a big White Sox fan, hosted the Phillies at the White House on May 15th. Phillies presented him with a number 44 Phillies jersey.
Chris Wheeler, one of the announcers for the Phillies, told me a funny story. Gary Matthews, who's now a broadcaster for the Phillies, and Obama used to play, President Obama used to play golf together in Chicago. And as President Obama was leaving the podium of saying hello to the Phillies, he sees Gary Matthews there and he says, "What do you say, Sarge?" What do you say, Sarge? And what a day that was for the world champion Phillies. Dave Montgomery on the right, Pat Gehrig, the second row left, who was the general manager. There's Pat Gehrig right there, Dave Montgomery, Jimmy Rollins, of course.
Phillies presenting the jersey to our 44th president. Payoff pitch, Tatis, center field, long run for Victorino. He's got it. One away. Well, Tim, you mentioned President Kennedy in Washington back in 1962. President Nixon in Cincinnati, throwing out the first pitch in 1970. And then President Ford in 1976 here in Philadelphia. And he made a point of seeking out the American League starting pitcher, Mark Fidrich. President Ford, of course, a Michigan native. Fidrich, the late Mark Fidrich, star with the Tigers, started the All-Star game here in Philadelphia against Randy Jones back on July 13th, 1976. Phillies charging, barehands it, he throws, and Church is retired.
Church is out. Wow, what a play by Phillies. I didn't think he had a chance to make this play. You know, it's very interesting that you're saying Jerry Ford, President Jerry Ford, sought Fidrich out, because 7 years earlier in Washington, 100th anniversary of baseball, the centennial, Jackie Robinson was there, and all of the players plus the player representatives invited to the White House to meet President Nixon. Bob Gibson, who was not a Nixon fan, did not meet him. And I said, "Bob, what are you doing? Come on, it's the President of the United States." He said, "I'm not meeting him." Wow. And he didn't. And the other player that did not meet Richard Nixon that night, Jackie Robinson. So
right?
Those two players, yeah, they refused to go up and meet him. I'll never forget that night. And then the game the next day was rained out. And then Steve Carlton started the afternoon the following day, and Frank Howard greeted him with a long home run. I think the American League won that year. But Frank Howard with a tremendous blast in right center. Actually, the National League won that, overcame the Frank Howard home run. There's the left-hander's number.
The 3-1 to Nick Evans. And Evans with a base hit into center field, only the second hit today for the Mets against Jamie Moyer, who has 252 career victories, one more than Bob Gibson, who finished his illustrious career with 251.
That's right. Bob Gibson, remarkably, of his starts, more than half were complete games. And just try to vision that for a pitcher today. More than half of Gibson's starts were complete games.
First pitch to Omir Santos, fouls it off. 0-1. 255 complete games. Now we should mention Moyer has now started 118 more games than Gibson.
Sure.
One win ahead.
That's fair. Yeah.
1-1. Moyer 43rd on the all-time list for victories. One behind Carl Hubble, who won 253 games.
Bob Gibson will be among the Cardinal Hall of Famers to be introduced before the All-Star game a week from Tuesday night.
Backhanded by Rollins. Long throw. It pulls Howard off the bag. Santos is safe. Mets have runners on first and second.
Well, that's going to be an infield base hit. Ryan Howard did the right thing. You don't want an overthrow right here. And Jimmy Rollins probably should have put that one in his pocket.
Tim, we mentioned prior to the All-Star game on Fox, as we take one more look, the People All-Stars will be introduced. Nearly 750,000 votes were cast at peopleallstars.com by fans across the nation, with the pitcher Gehrig at the plate, and he fouls off the first pitch. And one winner was selected to represent each of the 30 major league clubs. Tara Suri of Scarsdale, New York, who grew up in India, founded the Turn Your World Around Foundation, will represent the Mets. And Brad Hennifer of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, will represent the Phillies. Gehrig with a base hit, driving in a run. Evans scores. The Mets with 3 consecutive base hits. From the bottom of the order, the Phillies lead is now 3-1.
Both pitchers contributing to the score thus far. The bunt by Moyer, allowing Rollins to drive in 2, and now Gehrig helping his cause. Gehrig 1 for 5 coming into this game. So his second hit.
And his second career run batted in.
Hey, you think of the play that Pedro Feliz made, and that play is looming large in this inning. A swinging bunt by Ryan Church for the second out. Otherwise, this could have been more damaging to the Phillies.
Mets had only 1 base hit over the first 4 innings. The 7, 8, and 9 hitters, all with 2-out singles here in the 5th.
Here's that play to record the second out. Feliz coming in, barehanding the ball just to get Church, and I didn't realize that until just then. He tripped over the left foot of Ryan Howard.
Castillo takes low, 2-1. Luis has grounded out twice today. We saw Santos on second. Gehrig, the runner, on first. Alex Cora waiting on deck. Should Castillo reach? Two and two. The Mets, Tim, in their last 2 games fell behind 5-0 in Pittsburgh on Thursday, 7-0 here last night, 3-0 today. They've scored a run here in the 5th inning. Full count.
You can play catch up for a while, but you can't make a habit of it.
Payoff pitch to Castillo, off Moyer, backhanded by Utley, throw to first in time to get Castillo. But the Mets score a run on 3 hits. They strand 2, middle of the 5th, 3-1 Phillies. Pepsi. Every generation refreshes the world. The Mets with a run in the top of the 5th inning, driven in by their pitcher, Fernando Nieve. And then the inning came to an end, Tim, on this.
Chase Utley throwing the ball actually to first base, anticipating Howard covering. The Phillies have committed the fewest errors in the National League, only 32 errors, and that inning you saw why. The great play by Pedro Feliz and the terrific play by Chase Utley that was a lot better than the naked eye perceived. Always thought that was a funny term, naked eye. What is the opposite of naked eye? Clothed eye?
If you wear contact lenses or glasses,
perhaps.
Do you still look out with a naked eye?
Yeah, I don't think so.
We'll ponder that thought for a couple of moments as Ryan Howard steps in.
We're through pondering.
Howard, first pitch, center field. Ryan Church staring up at it with the naked eye. And he makes the catch for out number 1. Well, we mentioned earlier Pete Mackinnon wearing a microphone for us today, talking about Jason Worth earlier.
I've been saying all along you're the best player on the team, and you're mad that I'm like. I kept saying that.
That was after Jason Worth drove in the first run of the game with the sac fly to right field. Pete's a funny guy, and the players love him, and so do the coaches. I mean, he is just a very, very funny man.
When you and I walked into the coach's office earlier, Pete gave you a big greeting.
Yep.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom. I said the name is Tim, and I'll tell you the genesis of that.
Nick Evans in left makes the catch for out number 2.
Pete and I were teammates with the Phillies in 1979, and we were in Atlanta in old Fulton County Stadium, and a fan came up and he said, Tom, speaking to me, Tom. I said, my name is Tim. He said, well, would you sign this anyway? So the mistake was I was right next to Pete McCannon. He has never forgotten that. So I've been Tom ever since then.
Did you sign the autograph as Tom or Tim?
I signed it as Tim.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. I want to sign Tom. I have nothing against the name Tom, by the way. I want to get any emails from the Toms listening in today.
Greg Dobbs at the plate. 0 for 2. Struck out and fly to left with the bases loaded.
Pete McCannon, a manager of the Cincinnati Reds several years ago, had a chance of coming back. He is very highly thought of by the baseball hierarchy. Good man.
Speaking of Fulton County Stadium, were you there on July 4th, 1985?
Yes, I was. Mets and the Braves.
19 innings.
Yep.
Fireworks at 4 a.m.
You got it. Ted Turner. He said we had more people in the park. I say we because I did the game, worked for the Mets at the time. And that game started by Doc Gooden. Rick Camp, a reliever with his only major league home run. And the Mets still have the record for scoring the most runs in the top of the 19th inning. As they did to beat the Braves. They scored 5 runs at the top of the 19th, and Rick Camp represented the tying run with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 19th. What a bizarre game.
24 years ago today.
Wow.
Mets won the game 16-13 in 19 innings. The 2-2, and Dobbs strikes out for the second time today. 5 innings in the books. 3-1 Phillies.
Thanks, Tom.
Manny Ramirez is third at bat today in San Diego. Back in Philadelphia, a leadoff single off Moyer. So Alex Cora is on at first with David Wright at the plate. Action in the Phillies bullpen. Chad Durbin and Sergio Escalona up and throwing. Up the middle. Moyer able to field it. And the throw to Howard for the first out of the inning.
That's the third ball in a row that has hit Jamie Moyer. The last ball hit by Luis Castillo to end the fifth inning. This is the first hit off the right heel of Moyer. And this is the ball that Wright hit hard back through the middle. And obviously that's because Moyer keeps a lot of balls away from right-handers. And we mentioned earlier that right-handed batters try to go the other way up the middle.
What are the odds, though, of 3 consecutive balls hitting off Moyer? Cora now at second with 1 out. Gary Sheffield 0 for 2 today. Sheffield with a line drive caught by Phillies for the second out of the inning as Cora hustles back to second.
Three Rockets. Cora, Wright, and now Sheffield.
So for the first time in the last 4 batters that Moyer has faced, the ball is not hit back up the middle. 2 outs. Here's Fernando Tatis. Tatis 0 for 2 today. First pitch, he pops it up to the right side. The second baseman Utley is under it. He makes the catch, and the Mets are retired in the 6th. Time for our Flomax replay, Tim. Ball hit by David Wright back in the 4th.
And the double play as Chase Utley. I'll tell you, there have been some very, very good defensive plays in the infield. David Wright hitting ball back to Moyer's last time up, and Jamie is the third hitter for the Phillies. Now, I would not expect him to bat this inning. To me, knowing Charlie Manuel, I think Moyer's done.
First pitch, Pedro Feliz. Ryan Church makes the catch for out number 1. Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by Pepsi, is sponsored by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. By Gillette Fusion, Gillette's closest, most comfortable shave. And by Miller High Life, good, honest beer at a tasty price.
I'm surprised to see Jamie Moyer on deck. I mean, to me, that inning, the top of the 6th inning, I mean, with all due respect to Charlie Manuel, I think you got to take him out right now. I mean, there were some Mets hitting the ball right on the button. And you might say, well, the bottom of the order is coming up in the 7th inning. Well, the bottom of the order is the reason that the Mets have that 1 run. The 3 hits, including the pitcher.
Pat Mish, Brian Stokes up in the Mets pen. Phillies took a 3-0 lead back in the 4th on a Jimmy Rollins 2-run double. Since that 2-base hit, Gehrig has retired 6 in a row. 3-1 now. Paul Bacco grounded into a double play in the 2nd, walked and scored in the 4th. The 3-1, and Bacco pops it up, foul territory, left side. Will there be enough room for right? No. Bounces on top of the Mets dugout, so Bacco stays alive. One out, bottom of the 6th inning. Phillies lead the Mets on Independence Day 3-1. Another foul off to the left side. Phillies with a run in the 1st on a Jason Worth sacrifice fly. And then the Jimmy Rollins 2-run double in the 4th. On the 233rd anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence at Independence Hall. Another foul to the left side. David Wright this time under it, but can't make the play.
I think David went for the fan call then. I think a fan said, I got it, I got it. That's what appeared to me to have happened. Because Alex Cora was way away from David, but watch this sudden move right there. I think one of the fans in left field really responsible for Wright shying away. At least that's what it appeared to be.
Ball 4, so Bacco draws a 1-out walk. Time now for a DirecTV game break. We take you to San Diego, bottom of the 5th inning. Game tied at 1. Everth Cabrera with a drive off Randy Wolf, and an over-the-shoulder catch is made by Manny Ramirez, who has come out of the game in San Diego. Hit a home run at his first at bat for the Dodgers today as Moyer, batting for himself, comes up with his 2nd sacrifice of the day.
Bunting it right back to the pitcher, and Nieve properly not taking his chances and going right to first.
So Bacco now in scoring position with 2 outs. Here's Jimmy Rollins. Rollins now 5 for his last 10. After the 0 for 28.
After going 0 for 28, I was just thinking that.
You saw Moyer in the dugout, Tim, a moment ago, accepting the high fives and handshakes following the sacrifice. Jamie Moyer, throughout his career, has played with 583 different teammates in the major leagues.
Good going.
I think he remembers all their names.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
583 teammates.
That's good.
Including 4 300-game winners, 3 players who have 3,000 hits, and 4 who have hit 500 home runs.
No, 2 of the 300-game winners, Randy Johnson, Greg Maddux. Tommy Glavine. No, there's not one of those.
Roger Clemens.
I recovered. Oh, Roger, right.
Nolan Ryan in Texas.
Nolan Ryan, right.
1 ball count to Rollins. 2 outs. Bottom of the 6th inning. He's played with Cal Ripken Jr., Ricky Henderson, and Rafael Palmeiro, who have 3,000 hits. And Ken Griffey Jr., Sammy Sosa, Palmeiro, and Alex Rodriguez, who have all hit at least 500 home runs. They have all, at some point in time, played alongside Jamie Moyer.
Yeah, when you're 46 years old and still pitching, you play with a lot of guys.
Nieve approaching the 100 pitch mark. Pitch number 98 upcoming. In the dirt, blocked by Santos, 3-1. Next pitching coach Dan Worthen. All-Star game on Fox, Tuesday, July 14th. Pepsi All-Star pregame show at 8 Eastern. Jimmy Rollins at the plate, a 3-time All-Star. Payoff pitch upcoming from Nieve. Ball 4, says third base umpire Jim Joyce, the crew chief. So Rollins draws a 2-out walk. Let's check out the Hyundai Phillies in-game box score. Introducing the all-new 306 horsepower rear-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe.
Well, you talk to all the Phillies, and they'll tell you that if Jimmy Rollins gets on base, their chances of winning go dramatically up. Rollins has been on 3 times today. 2 RBIs with that double of his.
Pat Mish coming out of the bullpen for the Mets in relief of Nieve. DirecTV. How many cities, Tim, would love to have a sports complex like they have here in Philadelphia?
Yeah. There's Citizens Bank Park right there where the Eagles play.
Lakewood
That's
Financial
the old
Field.
Spectrum right there, and the Wachovia Center.
76ers played a farewell game at the Spectrum this season.
Oh.
A regular season game.
How about that?
Pat Mish, 27-year-old left-hander, acquired on waivers from the San Francisco Giants last month on a relief of Nieve with runners on first and second, 2 outs, and Shane Victorino at the plate. Victorino, 2 hits today. He scored a run back in the first inning. Nieve's numbers: he walked 6, including 2 here in the 6th inning. Nieve in his 5th start as a New York Met. He won his first 3. Victorino pops it up to the right side. The catcher Santos, and it's off his glove. So twice this half inning, the Mets with the chance to record it out in foul territory. They go 0 for 2.
Well, there is a lot to be said about catchers making the catch with 2 hands. You know, an infielder or an outfielder's glove is really, adaptable to where you can make the play with 1 hand. I don't really buy that everybody should use 2 hands. That is the David Wright play. That's called by a fan. But when a catcher goes back to a ball, a catcher should, if they're under it, try to make the play with 2 hands. That ball off the thumb of the glove of Santos, and an error on the catcher. But these are the types of things that's been happening to the Mets all year. Just shoddy play from the get-go.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
You think back to some of the plays, the moments that have plagued the Mets all season long, especially over the last month, and this half inning will be added to that list.
He hits the thumb of the glove. Santos can't center it. And that, that play right there, I guess it's explainable. You think that a fan called him off, otherwise. But it's, again, an example of some of the play of this Mets team that is tough to watch. The play in Los Angeles when Ryan Church missed third base in the 11th inning. That was a game in which they committed 5 errors.
The Fernando Martinez play in Milwaukee earlier this week, where he stumbled in the outfield.
Yep.
The 1-2 and just foul. Back behind third.
I'll tell you, if you're Omer Santos, you're gulping when a ball is hit like that after you just made an error. Your heart's beating a lot faster. You're hopeful your pitcher can take you off the hook.
1 ball, 2 strike count. 2 on, 2 out. Up the middle, base hit. The throw is off the mark, allowing the Phillies' 4th run to score. Rollins pulls in at third, Victorino at second. The Phillies' lead is now 4-1. This inning should have been over.
Inexplicably, had this ball been thrown home, the Mets actually have a play on Baca, who stopped coming around third base. Stan Musial, we talked about him earlier. Watch Baca coming around third, stopping, now continuing. Stan Musial used to watch a game, and I remember this vividly as a teenager with the Cardinals back in the early 60s, and Stan would see guys messing up on the field, and he'd ask the question, this is the big leagues? And he got to ask a question, after this half inning with the Mets. I mean, this is the big leagues?
Chase Utley at the plate, 0 for 2 with a walk. You can add this half inning to the list of plays that have brought back memories of the 1962 New York Mets.
Yeah. Team that lost 120 games.
Nothing in 2 on Utley.
I mean, Kenny, face it. I mean, you know, when you play a 162 game schedule, I mean, things are going to happen occasionally. But it's the more than occasional games that have happened to the Mets that is flat out alarming.
Yet somehow they are only 2 games out of first place.
Somehow.
Blocked by Santos, 1-2.
That game on Wednesday night, make that Tuesday night in Milwaukee. They lost that game to the Brewers 6-3. Jerry Manuel had a meeting after the game, and normally meetings after the game satisfy the manager. Meetings before the game should satisfy the players. But Jerry, with the meeting after the game, he was, from what I understand, livid. And then they won the next 2 games, but lost last night and playing poorly today.
The morning after the meeting in Milwaukee, the entire team rode the bus to the game together, which does not usually happen. But per the manager, Jerry Manuel, the entire Mets team was told, we will ride the bus to the ballpark together. The 2-2. Bounce foul into the Phillies dugout. Rollins on third. Victorino on second.
You know, it proves the plight of the Mets this year and some of their plays proves once again about how routine the game of baseball is. It's the team that on a day in and day out basis make the routine play consistently, not the super play occasionally.
The 2-2 from Mish, missing away, full count. Ryan Howard is on deck should Utley reach. Phillies with a run in the inning. On 1 hit, 2 walks, a sacrifice, and an error. Utley down on strikes. Phillies strand 2. It could have been a lot worse for the Mets. Right called off, we presume, by a fan. And then off the glove of Omir Santos. Victorino knocks in a run. We'll return after these messages from your local Fox station. Ryan Church leading off for the Mets against Jamie Moyer here in the top of the 7th inning as we welcome you back to Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by Pepsi. Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. Moyer has allowed a run on 5 hits through 6. 1-1 on Church. Will be followed by Nick Evans and Omir Santos. Phillies lead 4-1. Phillies with a run in the first, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 6th. Ground ball to the first baseman, Howard. He will take it to the bag. He dives to retire Ryan Church.
I think Ryan wanted to throw it initially and then decided to take it himself. You could see the hand going back. He was ready to flip it to Moyer. Saw that Jamie wasn't there and dives, and fortunately for Philly fans, he's okay.
Charlie Manuel out to the mound. Moyer has pitched 6 1/3. It's his 2nd longest outing of the season. He went 7 against the Dodgers in Los Angeles on June 5th. 46-year-old Jamie Moyer, the oldest player in all of Major League Baseball, exits to a standing ovation from their sold-out crowd of over 45,000 on July 4th in Philadelphia. He will be replaced by the right-hander Chad Durbin. First pitch from Chad Durbin to Nick Evans is high, ball 1. Durbin making his 37th appearance this season. On in relief of Jamie Moyer, who is in line to pick up career win number 253 in his 600th Major League start.
Kenny, we talked in the bottom of the 6th inning about the possibility of Jamie Moyer coming out of the game, and I think Charlie Manuel was determined to leave him in to pitch to one hitter, and that was Ryan Church leading off the 7th. And then one way or the other, he was taking him out.
Two to Nick Evans. Fouls it off.
Ball came right up and hit Nick, right behind the right ear. Interestingly, he does not have a flap on the right side.
Evans lifts this one foul down the right field line. The Mets in-game box score brought to you by Hyundai, introducing the all-new 306 horsepower rear-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Mets with only 5 base hits, a pair of singles off the bat of Alex Cora, and the Mets starting pitcher Fernando Nieve has driven in New York's only run. J.C. Romero up in the Phillies pen, a left-hander who recently returned from a 50-game suspension. Another foul. Fastball, and Evans down on strikes for the second out of the inning. And now Omir Santos steps to the plate. First hour Gillette Power trivia question. Who was the first player in the 20th century to hit 4 home runs in one game? We'll give the viewers a couple of moments to think about it as Santos gets plunked.
Certainly, the one thing that is not on Chad Durbin's mind is plunking Omir Santos. It's been a tough inning for Santos. Bottom of the 6th, he makes the error that led to a run, and now 2 out, nobody on. He gets plunked on the left arm.
So the Mets with a 2-out base runner as Daniel Murphy will pinch hit for Pat Mish. And that will bring Charlie Manuel out to the mound. Murphy, a left-handed hitter who went 1 for 4 in last night's game. And Manuel calls for the left-hander, J.C. Romero. 2 outs, top of the 7th inning. Phillies with a 4-1 lead. Presented by Pepsi. Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. Love Park here in Philadelphia on the 233rd anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. 6 miles from this ballpark at Independence Hall. Santos, the runner on first. J.C. Romero, the new Phillies pitcher. And the pinch hitter, Daniel Murphy, fouls off the first pitch to the right side. 0-1.
Often said that a breaking ball, a slow breaking ball from a left-handed pitcher to a left-handed hitter, all things considered equal, the easiest pitch for any hitter to hit, all things considered equal. Romero throws a hard breaking ball like that. It's a late break, and most left-handed hitters do not have a real good chance to pick it up. I beg your pardon, that was not a breaking ball. That was a fastball. I was mistaken.
Santos, the runner on first, the 0-2. Romero missing away, 1-2.
Slow breaking balls from left-handers. Left-handed hitters have a chance to react to those. As you take a look at Murphy, who's been rather successful against lefties this year.
Not this time.
Nope.
7th inning stretch in Philadelphia. A look at the Philadelphia Art Museum. Phillies up 4-1. AT&T, your world delivered. And by Touch of Gray, the best of both gets rid of some gray, never all. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver back in Philadelphia. Our Taco Bell Bring the Heat pitch speed comparison. The starting pitchers, Fernando Nieve and Jamie Moyer, their top pitch each inning. No surprise, Moyer just 84 miles per hour. Nieve topping out at 94. Moyer in line for career win number 253. A look ahead to next week's action on Fox Saturday Baseball. Albert Pujols will lead the way for the St. Louis Cardinals next Saturday. As the Cardinals visit the Cubs, many of you will see the Yankees and the Angels. The Yankees with a 6-5 victory over the Blue Jays today. Red Sox lost at home to Seattle. So Boston's lead just one game in the American League East.
And Tampa Bay, the Rays playing much, much better than they were a month ago.
Red Sox and Yankees with the two best records in the American League. Brian Stokes, the third Mets pitcher of the day. He will face the middle of the Phillies order as Ryan Howard will lead off. Howard is 1 for 3, single back in the first inning.
How about the Yankees today? 3 home runs off Roy Halladay in that 6-5 win. Might beat Halladay, but normally you don't do it with the home run ball.
No. But the Yankees have been doing it with the long ball this season, especially at home in their new ballpark. As Howard grounds out to Fernando Tatis. Yankees leading all of baseball with 119 home runs. We check out the leading vote getters in the American League. The starters and reserves will be announced tomorrow. Check out Jason Bay in left field with over 2.5 million votes. On Thursday, Tim, the native of British Columbia, Canada, Jason Bay was among 360 people to become a United States citizen during a ceremony at Faneuil Hall in Boston.
Wow, that's such a nice story. I mean, you think about it. Here it is right around Independence Day, and a real good guy. I mean, one of the real good guys in the game, Jason Bay from Trail, British Columbia, becomes an American citizen 2 days from Independence Day. That's nice.
As we talk about Jason Bay, another Jason Worth, lined out for the second baseman Castillo. So now Greg Dobbs steps in. Brian Madsen up and throwing in the Phillies pen. Here's Greg Dobbs, 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts. A reminder, you can watch the All-Star Selection Show tomorrow on TBS at 1 Eastern. As the All-Star starters and reserves will be announced as Dobbs singles to left field. And then the fans will have the opportunity to vote online for the 33rd player in each league. Pinch runner John Mayberry Jr. will run here for Dobbs.
Folks may or may not know that the first 8 position players chosen by fan balloting, and then the first 8 reserves, 5 starting pitchers and 3 relievers, are chosen by the players, coaches, and managers ballot. Then the manager picks 8, 5 more pitchers, 3 position players, and then the 33rd and final roster spot is filled by an online vote. And try to break it down as easy as we can right there. The fan vote, and then the players, coaches, managers ballots, 16 players. And then the manager's choice of 5 pitchers and 3 regular players makes 32. And then the last one, the 33rd on the online vote.
Every team must be represented. And Tim, usually around this time every year, I point out that you played in 2 All-Star games, 66 and 67. And you were perfect at the plate. 3 for 3 in All-Star competition.
Yeah, both extra inning games.
1966 in St. Louis.
There's nothing. Both extra inning games. 1966, an insufferably hot day. Casey Stengel's famous remark when asked about the ballpark, he said it holds the heat well. The next year, in 1967, was in Anaheim, game won by Tony Perez's 15th inning home run. And that year, catching Tom Seaver, who got the save in that game, my hand was sorer than at any time in my career catching a guy. I was looking at it, and I've talked to Tom a lot within the last, say, 5 years. And I was trying to point it out to Tom, and he didn't care. That simple. It just didn't care.
So you're still feeling, huh?
Now, I really did. I felt that for about 2 weeks after that game. I mean, it was catching Gibson, a lot of times my hand and thumb was sore, but never as sore as they were catching Seaver that day. He was bringing it.
2-2 the count on Pedro Feliz. John Mayberry Jr., the runner on first, 2 outs, bottom of the 7th inning. Full count.
Brooks Robinson, the most valuable player in 1966 in a losing American League cause. Brooks getting 3 hits that day and 4 at bats, played the whole game, and I mean he was everywhere, sucking up everything at third base.
Payoff pitch to Phillies, and he fouls it off to the left side. So Big John Mayberry Jr. heads back to first. A 6'6" Stanford University product. Brian Stokes, the third Mets pitcher of this game. Fernando Nieve, the starter, went 5 2/3. Pat Mitch, 1/3 of an inning. Payoff pitch to Phillies, base hit into left field. Mayberry holds it second. Phillies have 2 on with 2 out here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
To where San Diego just scored 3 runs. They lead the Dodgers 4-2, and Manny Ramirez wasn't the only thing that happened this past week in San Diego. Troy Aikman, who is now part owner of the San Diego Padres, throwing out the first pitch, and he short hopped the catcher. He's a quarterback. Troy.
And here are Tim's tips to Troy.
That's right. Troy, don't try to throw a sparrow when you're throwing out the first pitch. Take your time. There's no pass rush. And no what ifs. What was that last point? There it is. No what ifs. You passed on signing with the Mets. Move on.
The problem was Padres pitcher Chris Young was the intended receiver, not Michael Irvin.
Aha. Congratulations to Troy Aikman being part owner of the San Diego Padres. Dallas native. That's great.
Blanco grounds out to Tatis at first. Through 7. 4-1 Phillies. Baseball presents the June nominees for the MLB Clutch Performer of the Month award, presented by Pepsi. As Luis Castillo leads off for the Mets. Here in the 8th inning, John Mayberry Jr. remains in the game in left field. You can vote for the MLB Clutch Performer of the Month today at PepsiClutch.mlb.com. Castillo holds 1-1. Luis has grounded out 3 times today. Top of the order for the Mets here in the 8th inning against J.C. Romero. Mets with a run on only 5 hits. Ryan Madsen continues to throw in the Phillies pen. Phillies won last night's game 7-2. They lead today 4-1. Now 2-2 on Castillo. Alex Cora waiting on deck. Ground ball to the left side. Felice charging. And the throw beats the speedy Castillo, who is now grounded out 4 times today. Pepsi Clutch Performers for the month of June: Josh Beckett, Andre Ethier, who had a 3-home run game, and Prince Fielder of the Brewers. Derek Lee, Tim Lincecum, and BJ Upton. Again, you can vote for the MLB Clutch Performer by logging on to PepsiClutch.mlb.com.
Tim Lincecum will be the winner once that game's over. The Giants leading 9-0 over Houston. Lincecum going 7 innings today, vying for his 9th win. He struck out 9, 3 hit the Astros through 7.
1-0 to Cora, in for a called strike. 1-1.
Things are winding up. I'm just thinking Tim Lincecum probably will start again on Friday for the Giants, which with a 9-2 record is a possibility for him, starting last year's Cy Young Award winner, starting the All-Star game in St. Louis a week from Tuesday, maybe.
One of the decisions Charlie Manuel will have to make over the next 10 days.
You know, another decision when you think about it, the possibility of Tim Wakefield, who was 10-3 for the Red Sox, possibility of him being a pitcher in the All-Star game. And the problem,
there's a base hit into left field off the bat of Alex Cora.
The problem that the American League would have if Tim pitches in a game, because what catcher is going to be experienced enough to catch him in an All-Star game? And I remember back in 1986 when Rich Gedman was pitching and Charlie Huff was a pitcher for the American League. Charlie was a pitcher for Texas that year. And Gedman, I did that game, and I was talking about Gedman reaching out before this pass ball right here. And he ends up scoring. The American League did prevail that year. Charlie coming in on this wild pitch. Actually, I think it was a pass ball on Gedman. But it's an odd situation to have a knuckleballer make an All-Star team, but it would certainly be worthy for Tim Wakefield.
Ryan Madsen in from the Phillies pen, with the Phillies leading the Mets 4-1. Philadelphia, Ryan Madsen making his 42nd appearance of the season, facing David Wright, with Cora on at first and one out here in the top of the 8th inning. David Wright 0 for 3 today. Mets with a run on 6 hits, 1 error. Phillies 4 runs on 9 base hits. You were talking about Tim Wakefield and his potential inclusion on the All-Star rosters. Wakefield is 42, is the 3rd oldest major leaguer, behind 46-year-old Jamie Moyer, today's starter, and 45-year-old Randy Johnson. Here's the 0-2 to Wright. Madsen missing inside with the fastball. Jamie Moyer made his All-Star debut in 2003 at the age of 40. Jamie's first and only All-Star appearance. The 1-2, Wright fouls it off to the right side to stay alive.
I can't think of anybody offhand who is older than Tim Wakefield as a first-time All-Star at 42. Broke in as a first baseman. Thought his career was over. 15 years with the Red Sox. Enormously popular. And one of the game's great guys.
Wright pops it up. The second baseman Utley is under it. 2 away. Time now for a DirecTV game break. Yankees and Blue Jays on the 70th anniversary of Lou Gehrig's speech on July 4th, 1939. Bottom of the 7th, Yankees down 5-3. Johnny Damon goes deep, a 2-run shot to right off Roy Halladay. And then at the bottom of the 12th inning, with the game tied at 5, Jorge Posada, the game-winning single to center field, scoring Alex Rodriguez. The Yankees, in come-from-behind fashion, defeat the Toronto Blue Jays 6-5. Here's former Yankee Gary Sheffield. Fastball missing inside. Tim, there has been one older first-time All-Star.
Give it to me.
Than Tim Wakefield will be, assuming he makes the American League squad. Satchel Paige was 46 in 1952 when he made his All-Star debut. Currently, Jamie Moyer at 40, the second oldest first-time All-Star.
Good going. New book out about Satchel.
The 2-0 off the glove of Baco, allowing Cora to advance.
I had the pleasure of spending spring training with Satchel Paige in 1961 in Homestead, Florida. He was a pitcher for the in the Cardinals minor league. I think he pitched for Tulsa. I think. I was with the other AAA affiliate of the Cardinals, and just to be around him in spring training was classic.
He didn't tell you about his All-Star debut at the age of 46?
No, he may have, but I was hanging on his every word, as were a lot of other young players in the Cardinal chain.
The 3-0. Madsen catching the outside corner. Pass ball charged to Baco, allowing Cora to advance.
I think it was 61. It could have been 62, but I think it was 61.
So Satchel was either 56 or 57 at the time.
Or so.
And he was still playing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I mean, now I'm not checking this, but I'm just doing it. I mean, it's close to 50 years ago, so I don't know exactly, but it's around, just going by memory.
Payoff pitch to Sheffield. Left field, Mayberry. And the inning comes to an end.
Nobody knew how old he was anyway.
We still don't.
No, we still don't know.
Frequency is sponsored by Cataway, by Hyundai. Now Hyundai Assurance can even lower your price at the pump. And by Spirit Off Ice. Please drink responsibly. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. Get every MLB game in HD this season with DirecTV. Well, Charlie Manuel sent Matt Stairs out to pinch hit for Ryan Madsen. Then Jerry Manuel came out, called for the left-hander Pedro Feliciano. So now Charlie Manuel has sent Chris Coast into the on-deck circle.
Manuel moves.
Jerry,
the world of Manuel is Manuel.
Jerry and Charlie, who have managed against each other in the same division in both leagues.
Yes.
Jerry, of course, was the manager of the Chicago White Sox as Pedro Feliciano takes his warm-up throws. And at the same time, Charlie was the manager of the Cleveland Indians back in the early part of this decade. And now they match wits over in the National League East. So Pedro Feliciano, the fourth Mets pitcher of the game. Mets and Phillies have finished first and second in either order in the National League East each of the last 3 years. Phillies currently in first place with a record of 40-37. There's Mets pitching coach Dan Worthen. We take you back to our Gillette trivia question. Who was the first player in the 20th century to hit 4 home runs in one game? Tim, the answer is, appropriately enough today, Lou Gehrig on June 3rd, 1932 against the Philadelphia A's.
That's a good one. I did not know that. Is that in Philadelphia? We are checking. In Philadelphia, I guess it would be at old Connie Mack Stadium or Baker Bowl in 1932, where the A's were playing. The Iron Horse.
So Chris Coast facing Pedro Feliciano.
By the way, Marty Aronoff has come up with it again. 1961, Satchel Paige was 56 years old, and he pitched 25 innings with the Portland Beavers.
Wow. In
AAA Pacific Coast League. And Portland, of course, was I think the Cardinals at the time had 3 AAA teams. 3 of 24 in the minor leagues, if you could believe it. 24 farm teams in 1961.
It is
3 of those were AAA teams.
It is estimated, Tim, and you mentioned that Satchel was 56 in 61. It is estimated that he was born on July 7th, 1905. So 104 years ago this coming Tuesday.
That would have obviously made him 56 in 61.
Jimmy Rollins takes a called strike. Brad Lidge up and throwing in the Phillies pen.
Satch did come back in 1965. He pitched 1 game with the Kansas City Athletics in 65 at the age of 60. And then in 1966, his final year, he pitched 1 game for Peninsula in the Carolina League. The legendary Satchel Paige.
Cora with the throw. It's scooped up by Tatis to retire Jimmy Rollins. Our Smirnoff Ice game summary. Jimmy Rollins, who just grounded out a 2-run double in the 4th. Jamie Moyer in line for his 253rd consecutive victory. Speaking of birthdays, there are no current major leaguers who were born on July 4th, but there have been 45 in history, including Chuck Tanner, Vinny Castillo, Jose Oquendo, Ed Armbrister, Hal Lanier, Hall of Famer Mickey Welch, who won 307 games, pitched primarily for the New York Giants, and George Steinbrenner.
I was going to say George Steinbrenner, certainly born on July 4th.
And Dave Righetti, of course, threw a no-hitter for the Yankees on George Steinbrenner's birthday, July 4th, 1983. Victorino center field, coming on is Church, and he makes a sliding catch. So we move to the 9th with the Phillies leading by 3. Coming up, 2 hours of comps tonight, starting at 8, 7 Central, right here on Fox. Lynch making his 31st appearance, 14 saves. Spent a couple of weeks on the disabled list as well.
Last save opportunity on May 31st in this ballpark. Of course, after going on the DL, he saved a game in Toronto last Sunday. Out with a knee problem, and the Phillies, if they are to repeat as National League East champions, the man on the mound right now is vital to them.
Last season, 48 of 48, including the postseason, 41 saves during the regular season. He was perfect. Fernando Tatis is 0 for 3 today. There will be fireworks in downtown Philadelphia tonight, preceded by a Sheryl Crow concert. 100 years ago today, the first ever baseball fireworks show at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh on July 4th, 1909.
Oh, that's great.
1-2 on Tatis.
Can you imagine how dangerous that was in 1909 to have a fireworks display? I assume it was.
Tatis down on strikes. Some fireworks from Brad Lidge.
That's a fireworks-worthy slider that he just threw to Tatis after getting ahead with a breaking ball. That's the Lidge slider that Philadelphia fans are used to.
So here's Ryan Church with one away. Great job by our entire crew today here in Philadelphia. Our producer Pete Macheska, director Bill Webb, associate director Kathy Hunt, broadcast associate Brian Biederman. Our technical producer is Sid Drexler. Strike one to Ryan Church. Technical director is Jonathan Evans. Pre-game show produced by Don Bowie. Highlights coordinator is Janice Casaza. The technical supervisor is Jack Simmons. The senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. And the executive producers are David Hill and Ed Gorin as Lidge Misses inside, 1-1, thanks to Marty Aronoff and Scott Ahrens here in the broadcast booth. Phillies 4, Mets 1, top of the 9th inning. Bounce to the right side. Easy play for Ryan Howard. And Tim, the 3 through 6 hitters in the Mets lineup are now a combined 0 for 16 today.
Wow.
We're talking about Wright, Sheffield, Tatis, and Church. They have all gone 0 for 4. The only Mets run driven in by their starting pitcher, Fernando Nieve. Mets down to their final out. Nick Evans takes strike 1. Strike 2. Two and 2 on Evans. Omir Santos waiting on deck should Evans reach. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Top of the 9th inning. Ball game over. Save number 15 for Brad Lidge. Career win number 253 for Jamie Moyer. Now tied with Carl Hubbell for